Alright guys, so the Philadelphia 76ers just finished off their game against the Detroit Pistons up in shitty Caesars Pizza Arena. And here today, guys, I'm going to tell you why I'm not that excited over this win. But sit back and hang tight, guys, because that's all coming up next. I'm in Parcero Philly, guys, uniting all through sports and culture here in the beautiful city of Philadelphia. And today, we're going to talk about the Sixers versus the Pistons. But let's get this started, guys. Yeah! Alright guys, so if this is the first time you're tuning into my channel or if you're returning back, guys, I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in. It really means a lot to me, guys. I'm just a young Colombian American who is just trying to make his name in the Philadelphia sports landscape. You guys can help my growth out by liking this video, subscribing to this channel, hitting the bell button for notifications, as well as sharing this video and this channel. But guys, like we mentioned, today it is all about the Sixers versus the Pistons, and I know we missed an episode. We missed 2 games actually. This weekend was a little hectic. I did make a video for the Mavericks. Unfortunately, with the time, it just didn't load up to YouTube on time, and I just felt like it wasn't necessary for me to put up a Mavs review while in the middle of the Sixers playing the Wizards. So, I mean, just touching upon this weekend's play, I mean, the Mavs game was the last game of our 3-game losing streak, right? And we just looked bad. You know, the Mavs were without Luka Doncic, their best player, and we did not show up. And in that review video, guys, I discussed about how Ben Simmons needs to step up. I've consistently said this throughout the season, that Ben Simmons needs to step up. He needs to grab this team and put this team on his back at times. We were just waiting for him to be that guy, be that leader, be that charge for this team, because you've seen sparks of Ben Simmons being the leader on this team, right? You've seen him put the team on his back, defend his guys, work his ass off. That is all great, but Ben, you want to take that next step. You want to win championships. You gotta grab the. At times during the game, you gotta grab the game and put it in your hands. The best players in the world all time have done that too. So that Friday night was a sour taste in our mouths, and it was the start of Dallas week, right? Facing off against the Dallas Mavericks on Friday night, and then Sunday, of course, the Birds played against the Dallas Cowboys. So it was not the best way to start off. And Tobais Harris was cold. Joel Embiid was solid, but you know we needed more from other guys. And then the next night, the Sixers would face off against the Washington Wizards, a team that we all know took care of us early in the season, but it was down in DC, so this would be the revenge at home. And we took care of business in that game, as expected. All right, the Wizards are not that strong this season, and it was a fluke that they beat us down in DC earlier this season. They outworked us, quite frankly. And then when we came back up here, we took care of business. We did not take them too lightly. And then this leads us to this game here against the Detroit Pistons, you know. And this is a Detroit Pistons team. Quite honestly, guys, they remind me a lot of our pre-process days. You know, they have gone through a decade of some pretty mediocre basketball, and you know, when you look at this lineup and you saw the guys that the Pistons were putting out against us on that night, you see an Andre Drummond who's been there for a minute, and he's a solid center, but he's a little more of the old school type of center. He's not that fast. You can clearly tell he doesn't have that quick burst, those quick feet that, you know, other centers have, like a Joel Embiid. You could see he's a little bit bigger. However, though, he did have a solid game in this game, putting up 27 points, and he had JoJo a couple of times in the first half. He was on it. He was on it. But then you look at the rest of this lineup, right? Blake Griffin's still here. Now, Blake Griffin is probably one of the. He, in my opinion, was a disappointment. The way he came out in the NBA, he was high-flying, he was electric, he was making SportsCenter top 10 every night, he was on SportsCenter every single freaking night, and then he gets traded to the Detroit Pistons, and he's had a little bit more of a decline. And then you're still putting out Derrick Rose. This isn't the 2008 MVP Derrick Rose. All right, he's still giving you a little something, but obviously he doesn't have the same burst since his couple ACL injuries. And they still got Reggie Jackson, but Reggie Jackson has not been playing for the Pistons. He's dealing with a back injury. More likely won't come back until after Christmas. So they are going through what we dealt with before the processors. It's just been a decade since maybe the beginning of this decade. You guys can say that the Pistons have been trying to find a way to get back to where they were. Before this decade, you talk about those teams that were making it to NBA Finals, making it to Eastern Conference Finals. They upsetted the Los Angeles Lakers in the NBA Finals in 2003 with Shaq and Kobe, and it was led by the starting five. That was the key nucleus for that era. You're talking about Chauncey Billups, Rip Hamilton, Tayshaun Prince, Rashard Wallace, and of course Ben Wallace. And once those guys little by little started leaving, the Detroit Pistons started declining, and there's just been some bad draft moves, terrible contracts. If you guys remember, at one point this team had, if you remember, guys, at one point the Pistons were putting out Andre Drummond, Greg Monroe, and Josh Smith, 3 centers to play the 5, 4, and 3. That just kind of shows you how this team has been ran and has been going for the last decade. And they put Rodney Stuckey at point guard. Like it just has been some bad management and some bad moves that have put the Pistons in the spot that they're in here in 2020. And so back to the Sixers. So so now, after that 3-game losing streak and that bad loss to the Dallas Mavericks, which in all honesty you probably should have won, the Sixers have now won back-to-back games against a bad Wizards team and a mediocre-ass Pistons team. So when you still have the problems that you have with the Sixers team, right? In the last week, the zone defense has been the Achilles and has seemed to be the kryptonite to the Sixers team. And we've talked about how the lack of spacing on the Sixers team has really derailed the Sixers team. It's been tough for the Sixers to try to combat the zone defense when you can't space out the court because you don't have some sharp shooters. And that's great. We're winning. We're beating teams we're supposed to win this season. We haven't really had too many duds throughout this year. But guys, I don't know about you, but do you want to just have a quick playoff run, or do you want to go all the way to the NBA Finals? And in order to make it to the NBA Finals, you need to see some more from the Sixers team. And in this game against the Detroit Pistons, they gave you all you could handle. They had a lead on you at one point. It was short time, but you allowed for the Pistons throughout this game to come back. They only grabbed the lead once, but you allowed them to keep coming back. I need to see more from the Sixers. I'm sorry, like I know we're back on a winning streak here, heading into Christmas, but I need to see some better play. I need to see the play that I need to see from the Sixers team. The Pistons did throw you the little... Now, the Wizards on Saturday did throw you a little bit of the zone defense, but you were able to shoot well on that night. And on this night, you shot a little bit better as well. I mean, overall, we shot 54%, and on threes, we shot 40%. So the shooting was a little bit better. You shot better than the Detroit Pistons, that's for sure. The Sixers formula of playing hard-nosed defense, getting turnovers, and getting the quick turnover, and getting the quick transition going is great. But, there's going to be times where teams essentially, I hate to use a soccer term, but park the bus, right? Get some short passes, try and then not just rush things and try not to create those turnovers because they know that we are at our most dangerous when we're turning the ball over. And then the defense was working it in this game here against the Pistons. So it's the same. It's honestly, it's the same thing of what I said about the Philadelphia Union this year. The Union had the one set. They introduced this new formation, this new philosophy of play, right? The 4-4-2 diamond, the high pressing. But the Union were used to using the 4-2-3-1. The couple years previously to this new front office regime that they have down in Chester. So they were using the 4-2-3-1 heavy possession. But then this season, you saw Jim Kirchin, show you his coaching ability. When facing against teams that you wanted to intimidate, you knew they were prone for mistakes. You put out the 4-4-2 diamond. When you needed to attack from out wide, and you needed to get some possession, needed to work on. When you needed the possession, you go to the 4-2-3-1. The Sixers need to find that flexibility in their philosophies. Like at times, yeah, you're going to rely on your defense. You're going to rely on getting turnovers, quick transitions. But at times, you gotta go by possession by possession. You got to shoot a couple times. You got to actually play. You got to actually play basketball. Crazy concept. All right, but let's talk about some of the top performers here for the Sixers on this day. So leading the charge here was Tobais Harris. Tobais went off on his former team here, and you can definitely tell that Tobais walked into Detroit with a chip on his shoulder. If you guys remember, a couple years ago when the Pistons traded for for Blake Griffin, Tobais Harris was thrown into that deal as well. He went over to LA as Blake Griffin was going over to Detroit. You definitely knew that he felt as if he was a better player than Blake Griffin. And at the time, you'd probably be like, no, Blake Griffin's a better player than Tobais. But Tobais put in the work over the last couple of years. He proved he was worthy as a member of the Los Angeles Clippers. And of course, he got traded over here. And this is really where Tobais has really been born. He's been a different player. He's put himself in a category where he's an all-star discussion. That is huge. From where Tobais came from being a journeyman, from Orlando to Detroit to LA, now to Philly. This is his home now. He got the contract he wanted. He's got the team that he wanted, and he's performing to his capabilities. My man put up 35 points with 7 boards and 3 assists. And he did also add you 2 steals, so he was productive on the defensive side as well of the basketball. My man went off. And when you needed someone to step up, when you needed the bleeding to stop from the Pistons, Tobais stepped up and got a quiche and put in a key shot that would help you win here. He was the best player on the court. And guys, I don't know. Like I keep telling you guys that I need Ben Simmons to be that mama, take over games, and Joel Embiid really can't be that guy. I think it's time to hand the keys to this Sixers team to Tobais Harris. I honestly believe this is Tobais Harris's team. He's the only guy in situations when you need someone to step up and make a big basket. Tobais Harris is there with a big basket. Yeah, this is Tobias' team. And I can't wait to see more from Tobais. I really can't. Joel Embiid, he was dominant yet again. Going up against Andre Drummond. Drummond usually has a bad game against JoJo. And I wasn't sure how he would show up against Joel Embiid because honestly, JoJo has Drummond's number, right? And JoJo still had his 20 points. He would get 8 boards and 3 assists to add on to his 3 blocks. And Drummond was working it in the first half. He got JoJo a couple times. He got a couple lucky shots in there over Joel Embiid. But Joel still had a solid game. And when Joel is dominating in the post there, in the center of the court, it's when we're at our best. But that's when I keep telling you guys that we need to get better. We need to get shooters because once Joel's in the post and the whole defense has their eyes and their attention on Joel Embiid down in the paint, that's when Joel needs someone on the outside to bail him out when teams are double, tripling, quadruple teaming him. And he can throw the outlet pass to someone and they can shoot. But when you got Ben Simmons, not really much of a shooter. When you got Josh Richardson and you got Al Horford who can be streaky as a shooter, and then you got Tobais Harris who also is getting a lot of defensive looks on him as well because he's stepping up and he's becoming your top shooter now. So that's definitely what we're talking about when we're talking about the spacing. Josh Richardson, so nice. He had his 9 points with 2 boards and 2 assists. And Al Horford, another one. He had 9 points, 6 boards, 4 assists. So you got some contribution from those 2 guys. But then, last but not least, in our starting lineup, guys, it's Ben Simmons. Now, you guys know I've been very critical of Ben Simmons as, he deserves it. He had a solid game here. Again, the quick transition, the defense was working for Ben. He actually had, it was an alley-oop from Tobais, and Ben, spun, it was like a 360 spin in mid-air and got the layup, and that was a nice play of the night. But, he still got you 16 points, 13 boards, and 17 assists, so Ben got a triple-double. Honestly, I think this is the first triple-double this year. His first year he was a triple-double machine, but Ben got back on a triple-double, and that was great. It's great you got a triple-double, but again, I will take a 10-point game if you can just, in the last minutes, put the game on your back. That's what we need from Ben. That's really what we need from Ben. Josh Richardson can have those triple-doubles. Josh Richardson can have that stat line. I need Ben to have the important stats in the fourth quarter when the moment matters the most. That's it. That is really it. Now the bench, you got some contribution. You know, Mike Scott got you 7 points. Josh Ennis got you 6 points, 7 boards. So he was active in the board category. But then there's Furkan Korkmaz. Korkmazito. Korkmaz went off with 21 points. Now we all criticize Brett Brown for continuously giving Korkmaz trust. We don't know. We honestly don't understand why. But it's reasons like this is why I believe Brett keeps going to him. He sees something in Korkmaz that we quite don't see, and just to do a little cross reference yet again, just a tiny bit, just a little tiny bit. It kind of reminds me of Nick Foles. And now I know I'm going to get killed for this, but guys, Nick Foles has never really given you a full season, and believe it or not, everyone likes to talk about the 2 playoff runs, but did Nick Foles start all 16 of those games plus the playoffs? No. In the 27-2 year, did he start the full season? No. And if you guys remember Nick Foles, in the beginning, there was a lot of good, but there was also a lot of bad play from him. And I just have a feeling that Korkmaz is going to come up big in a situation that we really need someone to step up. He's seen it before that and the Portland game is a prime example. The seconds left on the clock. You need a game-winning shot. No Ben Simmons. Korkmaz stepped up and got the 3. So I definitely can tell there's a little clutchness from him, but we still have yet to see it. And I think we still need to see him evolve. He still has yet to evolve, but he showed up in this game. No Matisse Thybulle. That was big for him to step up and prove himself and take advantage of these minutes that Brett was going to give him, because he had 22 minutes and he got you 21 points. The shots were knocking. He got open. He took advantage of the opportunities that were given to him, and it was great. It was a great performance from Korkmaz, and it was great to see. I know a lot of fans were not too pleased to see him. A lot of fans would like to see less of him, but guys, I'm telling you, he's going to come up big in a situation that you're going to need the most, and I'm talking about playoffs, not regular season. I'm talking about playoffs. You're going to see him in a huge situation. Remember this episode. All right, guys. So honestly, this game worried me a little bit. The Sixers did beat the Wizards on Saturday, and then this game could have been an overlooked game, because our next game, guys, is on Christmas against the Milwaukee Bucks, the top seeded team at this very moment in the Eastern Conference of the NBA. And it's the opportunity for Philly to show not just us but the world what they are really made of. Are they really ready for this moment? You're going to be at home. The Wells Fargo Center is going to be rocking. You got the potential MVP in Giannis Antetokounmpo in your building. This is going to be the absolute first real test by our Philadelphia 76ers. Will they show up? They showed up against the Detroit Pistons team. They could have honestly overlooked them. Luckily, they didn't. And they stepped up big. Sixers would win this game 125-109. So next time we will see the Sixers will be on Christmas Day. It'll be a 2:30 tip-off. And that's going to be fun. I'm excited. I'm not too worried. Whatever happens, happens. It'll be a great learning experience for the Sixers and for the fans as well to see quite exactly where we are at as a team. We'll see how we play. I want Ben Simmons to step up. This is your moment, bro. This is your moment to show the world what you're really made of. You're going up against Giannis. Where's that competitive edge? Give it to me. Give it to me. All right, that's all I got for you. Again, final score, 125-109. The Sixers take care of business. Moving on. And now on the season, your Philadelphia 76ers are 22-10. Not a bad record for our Sixers here, guys. But, guys, if you want to talk about Sixers, anything Sixers, you want to talk about tonight's game, you want to talk about Christmas Day, in the comments below, that's where you do it. Let me know in the comments below how you guys feel about your Philadelphia 76ers. And of course, guys, thank you so much for tuning into my channel. I really appreciate it, guys. But guys, the goal here is we're trying to grow and we're trying to make El Parcero Philly's name known here in the Philadelphia sports landscape. You guys help me out doing that by liking this video, subscribing to this channel, hitting the bell button for notifications, as well as sharing this video. And of course, guys, if you want to follow me on other platforms of social media, you absolutely can do that. Follow me on Twitter at El Parcero Philly. And I'm also on Instagram at El_Parcero_Philly. And until next time, mi gente, I'm El Parcero Philly, telling you guys to always trust the process. I'll talk to you soon.